All right, this third video, trying to get through a bunch of different equipment, again, working on application, and again, everything starts with making sure that all the process happens where we're getting the contracts filled out correctly, and then we're bringing the sheet out and checking the boxes for it's full of gas, it's clean, and it functions. I showed you a picture of that earlier. We're gonna check those off, and you're gonna put your initials by it so that we know who said that it was good to go and that it functions. So if there is an issue while the customer has it, we can come back and talk to that person, all right? And the person that is checking it in knows that it was done correctly. Another popular item that goes out quite a bit, this is a sidewalk edger. I'm gonna show you a bed edger and a sidewalk edger, but this is obviously a sidewalk edger. Biggest thing, make sure that that blade is new enough so when it goes out, the customer isn't gonna get halfway through the project and need to get a new blade. Very similar to dethatchers, we always wanna make sure it is in this top transport mode, right? This is how it is adjusted and engaged, all right? So as you go down, the customer, it will engage that blade, all right? When you bring it up and put it in transport mode, that disengages the blade. Again, 2-hour rental. A lot of people that like to take care, do their driveways and sidewalks, spring and fall. Great item, goes out quite a bit. Honda engine on it. So again, on off, here's your choke. All right, all starts the same as several of the other items that we looked at. Bed edger. Looks like we need to get this one dusted off before we get it out. All right, we have 2 of these here in Brandon. Honda engine, so you should feel very confident about starting it. Again, on off, choke, make sure it functions. All right, this is again a bed edger, so we're using this for around landscaping, around your house, around trees, all those different things. This unit goes backwards, all right? So the customer will pull it backwards, all right? And the dirt kicks in and it sets your edge on the outside. So as you're going back, all right, it's creating that V shape. So you can put your bed edging in there, or people are using landscape rock, all those different things. So that's what this unit is for. The number one big thing about this, all right, this is what sets your depth. Right, so the customer knows how to set the depth on the front. Again, check your bed edger and your location to see if there's anything different on how it's adjusted. Also, the coaching on this is when you engage this, it has to be up. All right, this is a belt driven. When this gets pulled, the belt engages the blade. And if that blade's sitting on the ground and it hits something hard, it's gonna kick that belt off. All right, and then it won't work. Customer's gonna come back, they're gonna be mad, ask why you didn't tell them to make sure you lifted the item up and then brought it slowly down into the ground and then went backwards. So make sure you're going through that with every customer that rents one of these out. Coaching point 2 on this is, again, everybody's gonna say, yep, I've used a sidewalk edger before, yep, I always use the bed edger. Again, we have some professional landscapers that come in to our stores. Obviously, there's always some gray area where you don't need to explain it step by step. But if it's a regular DIY customer, we got to make sure we assume that they don't know. All right. So go through the steps and explain it to them. All right, and so that they understand how to use our equipment correctly, so that we don't have any issues. These 2 units here. All right, these are aerators. We have another hydrostatic one in Brandon that's super easy to use. The scariest part about these, honestly, they start the same. All right, Honda engines, right? Scariest thing about these is loading and unloading them from cars. So preferably, if people are asking if they have a trailer, have them bring a trailer. Because getting them up the ramps, especially this one that has the single front wheel, all right, when you engage it and make the wheel go, it's difficult to get it up the ramp, so make sure you have a couple people there all right? If you don't feel comfortable, have them rent a little trailer or utility trailer. But again, be super careful with this. Again, aerators, we use in the spring and the fall. It's super important that we clean out the tines in the back so that they can push the plugs. All right, everybody thinks of aerating. If we're not making those little dirt, kind of, everybody knows what they look like, little turds, pellets. They think it doesn't work. It's actually the process of just making that hole in the ground, all right? So depending upon their yard, if it's wet, if it's too wet or too hard, it's not gonna actually make those little pellets, but it's still functioning and doing what it needs to do. In essence, on all these, in some form, like this particular one, all right, how you engage that is you drop this down, all right, and then that's when it functions, all right, it's down, all right. When you get to the end of it, I always tell the customers to lift it back up, all right, and then go back around, turn around and go, all right. These are designed to help turn, all right, when you engage it, to make it easier. The biggest thing with this is you gotta, again, make sure that customers know you can't run over your sprinkler heads, you can't run over roots or any other things in your yard, or A, it's gonna damage them, or B, it's gonna damage the unit. So again, talk about all these things when you're loading it up, showing them how to start it, and then the functionality of how you engage it and disengage it, okay? Again, the older school model, same thing. This helps your drive, okay? So it turns the tines, and then this is what's done. Drop it down, and that's what brings it up. I always usually recommend when you've loaded it up, if the customer is okay with it, that when it's in transport, you want to drop the tines so it doesn't roll around or move around in the back of the customer's vehicle. Again, aerators, it's kind of a spring and fall item, all right? But make sure you're confident with them. Again, you have to be cautious when you're loading and unloading and making sure that you're safe and you have enough people to do it correctly. Last item that we're gonna talk about in this one, I believe everybody, I think most of the stores have a sod cutter. If they're like the Ryan or the Clausen, they all have their own little bit of different ways of functionality, but the starting of them is the same. A little bit different on this one. The throttle is on the handle. The thing with this sod cutter is it's got a kill switch. So in order for it to run, you've got to make sure you always got the kill switch on. All right. Functionality of this one. Back up a little bit. These levers, or if they're engaged, all right, so now they're engaged, so when you go forward, the wheels are gonna go, and this is for the reciprocator. If you have this off, just the wheels will go, all right? So that is the engage, disengage. Most importantly, what you need to explain to customers is how deep they wanna cut the sod. So on all these are a little bit different. On this particular one, this is how you adjust the depth, all right? Is you adjust this, and then you loosen, pull this down, all right? And that's what's gonna set the depth of your sod cutter, all right? So when they engage it, this is gonna be how deep that's gonna go. So if you brought it down further, you're gonna cut more sod. You go up further, it's gonna cut less sod, all right? On the Clausen, if you swing around here, Wyatt, it's a little bit harder to see. This knob right here is how you set your depth. So you would move it based on how deep or how shallow they want it to go. Once you set that, then when they're gonna engage it, they have to loosen this. Again, drop the blade down, all right, so that it cuts when you start that reciprocator. I always recommend you have it out, and then as you go forward, have them bring it down in and cut with the sod, and then when you get to the end, you lift it up and out. Now again, with all these, we're going over a ton of information in a pretty short amount of time, but it's really some key, quick ways to explain to the customer how they function. Obviously, once you've watched these videos, try and just go out and rent it for your own home, rent it for your neighbors or your grandparents or family members, because the easiest way to be able to show people how to do this is to actually go out and use them. So we highly recommend at any time possible to take this stuff home, play with it. Just blanket rules, as long as it's, you know, not rented out or reserved, you can take it and use it for free at any time. If it's something where you're using it for a project, and this is more kind of like inflatables, tables, chairs, sometimes it's equipment. If you want to guarantee that you're going to have it, then you can reserve it and hold that spot, but it's half the price. All right, so there is going to be some cost in there if you're going to hold that time. So if you have questions on any of that stuff, or you're not sure, be sure to call and talk to Rex or myself, and we can get that answered. Again, tons of information in these 3 videos. We'll have a 4th video that will go over the actual contract portion of it, where we're inside the store going over reservations, changing reservations to contracts, and closing out. But make sure you go through these videos. If it spurs some questions, then make sure you're in contact with your manager or your head rental person at your store. You can always call and contact Rex or myself, and we'll get you directed to the right person. So I will plan on doing, having Brandon actually do a couple videos with the steel items that we rent out, just because what we can do is parlay that into where you're learning not only about the unit to rent it, but it makes it selling those items a lot easier. So that's what we'll do for now, and we'll get the steel video out there, and make sure you watch everything. If you have questions, let me know. Thanks, bye.